Hello, my name is Ali Duzette, and this is a lecture on the divine polarity of masculine and feminine. I originally gave this lecture at the Energy Healing Conference in Sandy, Utah in February of 2022, and there were some technical problems at the event, and so I decided to re-record it for YouTube, and I'm really glad that you're here. We're going to talk about some interesting things. I'm Ali. I have 5 kids. My husband said, why don't you have wife on your list of things about you? So, oh, okay, I'm a wife too. Today's Valentine's Day as of this recording, right? So a little appropriate. I'm a healer and astrologer, and I have a very fun email list. If you're not on it, get on it. I will put a link to do that below. aliduzetclasses.com is where all the real fun stuff happens. And in my Facebook group, which is called Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette. I hope that you join that too. Okay, the Pluto return is around the corner. This is America's birthday chart. And whenever a planet ends up back where it started in a birth chart, it triggers that planet and kind of activates that planet all over again. And this is called a return. So when the sun goes back to where it was in the sky on your birthday, that's called your solar return, the return of your sun. So for America's solar return is when the sun hits 13 degrees and 19 minutes of Cancer. And that's America's birthday. And we also know it as the 4th of July. So your birthday might be, February the 2nd. And every time the sun goes back to where it goes in the sky on February the 2nd, that is your solar return. But every planet has a return. One of the most famous returns is the Saturn return. And whenever Saturn goes back to where it was in the sky when you were born, it kind of triggers, and people really feel it even if they don't know they're feeling it. It triggers when you're about 29, and again when you're about 58, and again, when you're in your 80s. And so most people don't live to see a third Saturn return, but most people do get to see 1 or 2 Saturn returns. And those are big deal events in our lives where we get to see the consequences of the things that we've done in the past come forward and show themselves to us, because that's what Saturn is all about. Saturn's about consequences. But we all have a Venus return every 18 months where we get to reevaluate our relationships. We get a Mars return every 2 to 2.5 years. We get a Uranus half return at about 42 years, so a little midlife crisis, okay? But Pluto has a 244-year cycle. That's how long it takes Pluto to go around the sun. So so nobody lives to see their own Pluto return. That's like not a thing. I guess like Methuselah in the Bible had a few Pluto returns, but like in normal life, you will not live to see your own Pluto return. But a nation can sometimes live long enough to see its own Pluto return. Most nations do not, but America will. And we are coming up on America's first Pluto return, where Pluto will be hitting 27 degrees and 33 minutes of Capricorn. And we are doing that this year. We are doing that actually next week. So today is Valentine's Day, and February the 14th of 2022, the first Pluto return for this year is happening on Sunday, this coming Sunday of February the 20th. And we are actually having 3 Pluto returns this year because Pluto is going retrograde. We'll have another Pluto return in July and another one in December. So we have a lot of Pluto energy going on. And I've done some videos on YouTube about past Pluto returns. They've been linked with a bunch of big stuff in Rome and a bunch of big stuff in England. And now it's our turn to see what will happen with us. So check it out on YouTube. I'll link these things. But yeah, this is what's going on. This is America's Pluto return that's coming up on February the 20th of 2022. And so it's right around the corner, guys. But these are things that I really wanted to bring to our attention today on Valentine's Day. First off, Pluto will be at 27 degrees and 33 minutes in the 7th house of marriage. This is the house of marriage. Juno is the asteroid goddess of marriage. Okay, so this is a lot of marriage energy stuff going on with America's Pluto return. And also Mars is at 19 degrees, Venus is at 19 degrees of Capricorn, really close to Pluto. And I believe they are within orb I mean, it depends on the orb that you select, right? But they're only, what, 8 degrees apart, which is not that far. And so this conjunction and this placement is telling me everyone in America is going to have this big opportunity to reevaluate issues relating to masculine and feminine dynamics. And that's why we're talking about the divine polarity right now today. Okay, masculine and feminine. Mars is masculine, Venus is feminine, and that is this big dynamic. It's going to be exact this coming Sunday on February the 20th. And so what does that look like? A phrase that comes into my mind is all is fair in love and war, with love being this Venus and war being Aries or Mars. And then the big question here is, are you going to fight with what you love or fight for what you love? With Mars being fighting and Venus being loving, conflict with those that we love, or having them so close, we can have a really good integration with the masculine and feminine dynamics in our own lives. So we get to choose how this energy is going to show up for us. And this is an energy that's going to pervade the nation for at least up through July when we get a new Pluto return. But we will see for ourselves how love and war and masculine, feminine, and giving and taking, these are the energies that we're going to really see show up. Let's see, it's February, March, April, May, June, July. So like in the next 4 to 5 months, we'll see how this shows up. And I don't know how it will show up. I can't tell you what is going to happen, but I can tell you it will have a flavor. The flavor is going to be dealing with the masculine feminine dynamics. And we get to choose if it's going to tear us apart and be a battle, or if it's going to be a coming together, a unity, a healing of the fragmented masculine feminine dynamics in our own personal lives and in our own personal bodies. We have this opportunity to heal yin yang energy on a national level. That's the big takeaway from this aspect that I'm talking about of the Pluto return. And I mean, geez, there's so much going on in here, and we're going to talk about that. I've actually already talked about that on a different YouTube video, but there's a lot going on. Today, we're talking just about this, and okay, masculine and feminine is the divine polarity. The masculine energy is yang, the feminine energy is yin. This symbol is called the Taiji 2. I said it's not yin. Yin is not a thing. No yings. There is no such thing as a yin yang. It is a yin and yang polarity, and it's called the Taiji 2. And I may have said that wrong, but I don't think I did. I think it's just said Taiji 2. So in this symbol, we have the white is representing the masculine energy, the yang, and then the dark is representing the feminine energy, yin. And they feed each other, okay, where they contain each other, okay? They have mostly, they're like 90% whatever they are, and then 10% the opposite. And they create each other, they feed into each other, they create a kind of vortex as they embrace their own polarity. This is the polarity necessary to create life. The two halves are equal in importance and different in presentation. And so I love this image that I thought of as I was preparing this presentation of two people holding hands and leaning back and running in a circle. When two people do this, the force of their opposition combined with the strength of their togetherness, the strength of them holding their hands together, keeps them stable and steady. If one person lets go or stops moving or slugs along, then it messes with the functionality of the pair. Each side has to lean into its opposing function to be steady and stable. But have you ever seen this where two people hold hands and lean back and run in a circle together? If they do that, the force becomes so strong that one person can just lift their feet up entirely and they can fly. They will be flying through the air and held steady by the hands of their partner, and then they can come back down and the other person can fly. So when we have these two forces that lean into their polarity, they connect, but they're not taking over each other's position. They are working together and they're putting 100% in their different ways, in their different polarity. That's when each side can take turns flying. The problem is if one person is like, I don't want to do this, if they're slugging along, if they're trying to, I don't know, if they don't want to be opposite each other, if they just want to be next to each other, well, you can't fly next to each other. Each person has to lean back and step into the polarity and play along with the polarity if they want to fly. That's how it goes. Okay, these are pictures from the internet, and I honor those authors the artists. I don't know who they are, but I don't know. If you want these, go find them and go pay the people to own a copy, I guess, because these are good pictures. But okay, yin and yang. The yin energy is feminine, cold, dark, ethereal, yielding, soft, absorbing, receiving, following. It goes with water, and I wrote down moon goddess, and that's the picture that I searched for. I wanted a picture of the moon, a moon goddess. And yang, we have masculine, hot, bright, solid, unbending, hard, penetrating, leading, fire, and the sun god. So that's what I searched. I searched for sun god picture. Okay, so these are two halves of the whole that is created, that is necessary to create life, and neither one is better. Okay, and I think in our culture we have a big obsession with being a leader is better, being unbending is better, or being bright is better. But here's the big problem: who can lead if no one is willing to follow? Like, who can do that? Like, you can't do that. And I don't know, many of us are parents. Maybe you have noticed that it's hard to lead your children if none of them will agree to be led, right? When that happens, nobody wins, right? They're kind of, for any structure to work, for any relationship to work, there has to be an amount of give and take, and leading and following, and you need both. And it's not worse to be the one that's following. That's an important job as well, and it's a necessary job if the leader is going to actually be able to lead. And geez, I can say a whole lot about this, but I'll do it on a different day. Okay, yin and yang is a spectrum, and it is found in every single relationship. After my lecture, when I gave this live, somebody came up and said, what about gay couples? Well, guess what? It's still a spectrum. And in any kind of couple, in any kind of relationship, there's still this yin yang energy, and it shows up in every relationship. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter your sexuality, like that has nothing to do with it. It's still a spectrum. Like, you're still going to be on the spectrum. Everybody is. And you're in multiple places on the spectrum at the same time. So these are a bunch of examples that you can read through. Babies are yin to children. Children are yang to babies. Employees are yin to bosses, and bosses are yang to employees. And all the people in the country are yin to the king, and the king is yang to all the people in his country. And the ladies in waiting are yin to the princess, and the princess is yang to the ladies in waiting. Okay, so there's always going to be yin and yang, and it's all important, and it's in every relationship, and it doesn't matter what gender people are. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a spectrum, and you're going to fall on different places on the spectrum all the time. And so the book Gone with the Wind is an excellent and very overt discussion of this. Margaret Mead, is that who wrote that? Now I'm like questioning myself. Did I get her name wrong? The author of Gone with the Wind writes explicitly about this, like in detail. Like, she just spells it right out for you. You cannot miss it. That Scarlett O'Hara, one of her big problems is that she's extremely masculine, and she kind of emasculates all of the men around her, except for Rhett Butler, and he's the only one that's more masculine than Scarlett O'Hara. And so anyways, you can go read the book. It has a ton of overt and explicitly written out discussion of this issue, and it's really fascinating. And side note, it's also written astrologically. If you read it, Scarlett is an Aries and Rhett is a Leo, and the Tarleton twins are Geminis, and Ashley is a Capricorn, and Melanie is a Virgo, and they all exemplify their archetype. And remember that, Tara isn't it off 12 Oaks, right? And so it's very astrological. Go read that book if you really care about this stuff. Prepare to cry. It's like the end just killed me. But anyways, Gone with the Wind. It will talk you through so much of this. Okay, you have yin and yang in your body as well. Your dominant hand is yang to your non-dominant hand. So I'm a right-hander. My right hand is my yang hand, and my left hand is my yin hand. And you need both of them, or else you have some big problems, right? And I always like the example of making cookies, because if you're going to make some cookies, you need both of your hands. If you're going to stir that dough, one hand has to hold the bowl and one hand has to stir. And if the hand that holds the bowl lets go, everything falls apart. And if the hands are just both holding the bowl, then nothing is stirring, right? If two hands are trying to stir, it's a mess. If two hands are trying to hold the bowl, it's a mess, or nothing happens. And kind of our whole life is like that. There always has to be a yin and a yang, and that is what makes things work. Our bodies have yin and yang within them. And so, okay, here's the thing to take away. Everyone contains yin and yang. Yin and yang is a spectrum. It is situational, and it is also absolute. Okay, so there's a whole lot in here. And in my live lecture, I'll have us do it here too. I had us all participate in one of my favorite examples of yin and yang. Go ahead and take a really big deep breath. And let's do it again, because your breath in is yang and your breath out is yin. There you go. Every moment we are taking things in and we are letting them go, and we are participating in yin and yang in every kind of way. Okay. Our daily circumstances require differing levels of yin and yang as well. So I use myself as an example. I have a bunch of kids, and I am yang to my kids, and I am their leader. And I play a yang role to my children as their leader and as their guide and their protector when we go to the grocery store. But my husband is also my protector, and I consider him my own leader. And if my kids have a problem, then they will come to me and we work together to fix their problem. And if I have a problem, I go to my husband, and he and I work together to solve our problems. And when he has a problem, he goes to God. And so my husband is yang to me, but he's yin to God. Okay. And C.S. Lewis has an excellent essay about this called Priestesses in the Church. And I have a quote from that later on. But this is a system that is true in like every area of life. And just because you're a man doesn't mean that you are yang in every instance. There are situations where you also are going to play a yin role, and same with women. Women are going to play a yang role. I have a job, and I also, am a boss in my job, and have, people that work for me in my job. And so I am yang to them, even though my core nature is also primarily yin as a female woman, right? So everybody's participating in this polarity, and on a core soul level, we all have a resonance more with one side than the other side. And so I wrote here, the Taiji 2 is not the picture of just one person's soul that's half and half. This is not a picture of you being half and half, although it kind of can be, as far as like you have your left hand and your right hand, and you have like your inhale and your exhale. But you could think of that as like, I should have found a different picture, but you can find them. There's pictures of this Taiji 2 with the hole in the middle having another yin and yang inside of it. Okay. And that's kind of like what I envision for humans, is that we have this yin yang energy within ourselves that is seeking balance. And I think of that, a lot of it is physical, again, like left hand, right hand, or like breathing in and out, or like you eat and then you have to excrete. And like there's these different systems that there's always these two halves of the polarity. And if you cut out one half, there's a huge problem. Like there's a lot of things in this polarity that you cannot survive removing half. But at the same time, so you're going to have like a little half and half seat in your own physical body and everything, but overall your overall energy is going to resonate more with yang or more with yin. And when that happens and you connect with another half that is resonating with the other energy, that is when this represents more like a marriage or like a partnership energy. When two souls have fully embraced their polarity and are kind of more like the 90-10, it's not to say that they're 100% yin or 100% yang, but just that they are mostly one and less of the other. And they're polarizing, right? They're in that example of the two people holding hands and leaning back, they've chosen to lean back into the thing that is stronger in them naturally anyway. Okay, and then because they polarize, they flow into each other. And in a male female, like biological male female polarity, that is what creates that. That's where we have the power to create life. Okay. So these are some of my intentions for the session that we're going to work through real quick. Obviously, we're not going to heal our polarity in this moment, and I am creating a class on this topic, like a long class, because there's a lot to be said and a lot to work with this energy. So this is, but some of the intentions around this concept, I would love for us all to heal our polarity within. And once that's healed, for us all to hold space for others to heal their polarity, because everybody's on their own journey with this, and it's important to allow them to be on their journey. Prepare to notice polarity in your life and be conscious about it and how it shows up in every realm. Like, now that I know about it, I notice it when I'm breathing, and I notice it when I'm eating, and I notice it in my family, and I notice it when I'm out at the grocery store, and I notice it everywhere. And being aware of this reality just gives you that much more ability to be conscious and to exercise your agency in effective ways. Okay, so that is one of my goals with this, is that we can just be aware that it's a thing. And once we're aware of it, use our agency to maybe make more effective choices, whatever that will mean in our different spheres. Like, it will mean something different for all of us. Pluto return in America, this stuff is going to be brought to our forefront, whether we are conscious of it or not. And so we get the next 5 months or so to really take a look, see what's up. And I really believe that as we heal ourselves and our internal polarity, everything else can fall into place. So we're going to work through 2 images today. And I'll walk you through this image with your eyes closed. But first, I want you to look at this picture of a tree with roots. Okay. And the roots actually look like a mirror of the tree above, in a way, right? They are mirrors of each other, as above, so below, and all of that. But they have different jobs, right? And so let's go ahead and close our eyes. Go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and imagine a tree. Imagine the branches growing up into the air and the roots growing into the earth. They are mirrors of each other, one above ground and one below. Imagine the roots being jealous of the branches. Imagine those roots looking up and thinking, oh my gosh, those branches, they're seen, everybody appreciates them, people sees the fruit growing off of them, and they're so impressed, and the branches get all the love, and we don't get any of the love, and this is not fair. Nobody appreciates what we add to the picture. Nobody cares about us. Anger, abandonment, feeling like God abandoned us. This was the wrong thing. I wasn't meant to be a root. I was meant to be a branch. This isn't fair. Betrayal. The fact that I am what I am is a betrayal of myself. Anger. Oh, so much anger, rage, upset, irritation, screaming, not fair, not fair, not fair. Irritation with reality. How come trees need roots anyway? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why can't all parts of the tree be equally, visible and important looking? Can this start to clear now? Yes. Go ahead and tap, 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 and take some deep breaths. Okay, good job. And imagine those branches up above looking down at the roots. And we're going to feel some branch feelings now, looking down and thinking the first thing that comes up actually is disgust. Oh, stupid roots down there. So jealous. They don't even get what I've got going on up here. Like they don't even know what they're talking about. Anger, irritation, maybe some jealousy from the branches. Those roots are protected and hidden. And if they mess up, then nobody knows about it. If that tree messes up, everybody knows about that. In my live lecture, I talked about my own apple tree. It never lost its leaves for the winter. They're still green out there. It's been green all winter. And I'm like, apple tree, oh my gosh, you're failing. Like you're supposed to lose your leaves. And I have to go out every time it snows and bat the snow off so it doesn't break all its branches. Anyway, when the branches mess up, everybody knows. And so feel that feeling from the branches. And both the branches and the roots feeling misunderstood and like things are not fair, like they're unfairly judged. And like this just wasn't fair, misunderstood. Let's take some deep breaths and do some tapping. Releasing. Okay. You can open your eyes and we're going to tap all the stuff we have on the screen. I now accept divine wisdom on the need for this polarity. I can appreciate both the branches and the roots for what they are. Let's do that one again. I can appreciate both the branches and the roots for what they are. Breathe it in. I know how to live without being jealous of my counterpart. Tap it in. Let's do that one again. I know how to live without being jealous of my counterpart. I know how to live without being angry about what I am. I know how to realign myself with my own divine polarity. I am open to seeing clearly where I am out of alignment. I invite divine guidance on where I need to heal my alignment and how to heal it. Put your hand on your heart and breathe it in. Imagine a tube of light shining down on the tree. This light contains information on the polarity of the tree, how each part is good and how each part is also good enough, how the two parts can work together, and how if one part of the system is broken, the tree can call on the universe to step in. In our image, if the root system is working well, but the branches don't even exist, if there's no trunk and no branches, the universe can step in and create an ethereal counterpart. And vice versa. If there's no roots for the branches to tap into, the universe can step in and create ethereal roots that will serve the purpose in the meantime. Imagine this light teaching the tree which part is which and how to be in alignment, how for each part to be in alignment with itself and with the overall tree and functionality of the tree. Feel the tree understanding these concepts. Feel the roots accepting that they are roots, and feel the branches accepting that they are branches. Feel them releasing the jealousy and anger that they've carried about each other, and breathe that in. Okay, and when you're ready, we're going to go back to the tree. Go ahead and imagine that in this image, this time the branches of the tree are growing into the ground and they're trying to be roots. So the trunk goes up and then the branches go back into the ground, almost like a willow tree, but like kind of more crazier than that because they're going all the way into the ground and they're trying to be roots. And see how the roots are jealous of the branches and they grow up out of the soil and try to be branches instead. So the roots, instead of growing down, they grow down a little bit from the trunk and then try and go up instead. They want to be branches instead of roots. And so see how instead of being a functional tree, this makes the organism a huge mess. This organism gets tangled up and actually starts to die because the branches aren't in the sky making leaves and absorbing light, and the roots aren't in the earth absorbing water either. So neither thing is doing what it needs to do to survive, and now this tree is a mess. So imagine a tube of light shining down on this tree containing information on how to course correct. It's going to teach the branches how to be branches and the roots how to be roots so that the tree can function. See the branches learn now on a cellular level and on an internal and spiritual level how to come back up out of the earth and fulfill their divine mission in the air. See the roots learn how to return to the earth. And when you're ready, see the branches and the roots go back to where they belong and do their job according to the divine pattern of the tree. Go ahead and take a deep breath and breathe it in. Okay, very good. This is a quote from C.S. Lewis. We are dealing with male and female, not merely as facts of nature, but as the live and awful shadows of realities beyond our control and largely beyond our direct knowledge. Or rather, we are not dealing with them. But as we shall soon learn if we meddle, they are dealing with us. This is a quote that I found as I was struggling with things on my own masculine feminine dynamics journey years ago. Somebody asked in the chat, what happens in a marriage when the male has more feminine energy in their natal chart and the female has more masculine energy in their natal chart? So this is an issue that I feel like I have some personal knowledge of. And what I found was that I felt like the divine was trying to, what? Did that resume the share? Uh-oh, I'm sorry. Somebody called me. It was a spam call and it stopped the share. Okay, there we go. Anyway, what I found was that the divine was telling me that I needed to step more into my feminine energy and allow my counterpart to step more into his masculine energy. And this felt insulting and really difficult and impossible. And I thought, don't you know that this is just how I am? I am just a more masculine person. And at the time that was very true. But what I discovered for my own self was that as I started, one thing that happened was I was praying about it and I thought, okay, how am I supposed to make sense of this? And I said, tell me what to Google. And I literally heard in my mind, Google C.S. Lewis priestesses. And so I did, not knowing that was a thing, and up came this essay, Priestesses in the Church. And this is the quote from that. And I do recommend, taking a look at that essay if you want to. But what I found is that as I stepped into my own feminine energy and started consciously working with kind of reducing my masculine energy expression, everyone's lives became easier in my life, including my own and my children's, my family's, even my relationships with acquaintances and at church, and in literally every aspect of my life improved. Because I started, here's one thing, Yogi Bhajan, who teaches Kundalini yoga, he is deceased at this time, but he has a book. He wrote many books. In one of his books, he talks about that when it comes to to these issues, it's important to identify with your own identity. And his whole thing in there was like identifying, like if you are female, then, and you don't identify as being female, then perhaps there is some healing that needs to be done so that you can identify with the identity of the body that reflects the identity of your spirit, which I know is a controversial matter. But for me, that was really impactful for me because I read that and felt like, okay, I'm not stepping into the identity of my soul when I'm like fighting against this and feeling like yin is worse, feeling like feminine is worse. I'm having some identity crises, even though I didn't, I don't know, it was a complex thing, but anyway, the point is that as I stepped into working with and working to make myself more yin by changing how I was using my agency to express myself, a lot of things happen. And I honestly credit that to my opening of my spiritual sight. Like that is how what happened was the night that I said, okay, God, I'm done fighting with you. And I'm going to accept my femininity as something good. And I'm not going to fight about this. And I'm not going to try to be masculine anymore, and I'm just gonna get over it. Literally, that was at 11:30 p.m. and at 4:30 in the morning, I woke up with a vision of somebody's energy field and how to fix it and instructions. And then every moment from that moment, my life was like that. And I really feel like it was that previously I was not identifying with my own identity. I really felt like it wasn't fair that I was female. I really felt like I should have been born a man. I didn't want to be a man. Like I didn't identify as transgender or something, but I just felt like it wasn't fair. And as soon as I stopped feeling that way and said, okay, they're equal, this is good enough, I'm going to stop trying to be more masculine. And I'm going to start trying to step more into this yin energy, that unlocked a ton of power for me. So that was the session that I did at the Energy Healing Conference. Thank you guys for being here. And okay, we are going, usually I stop a video and create a new one, but we're going to keep going on here. I have about 10 minutes until I have to go pick up my kid from preschool. So we can talk if you guys have some quick questions or anything. You can type them into the chat. I am planning to teach a full-length class about this topic very soon. And I was going to start it this week, but one of my relatives became like deathly ill, and so we are now like in the process of figuring out travel plans and like going to say goodbye and all of this kind of thing. So it's been basically my life kind of became more crazy than I expected it to be in the meantime. So okay, so here are some questions. As solo parents fulfilling both roles, how do we step more fully into our respective roles? So that is such a good question. And one thing that I have read about this is when you step fully into your role, basically what you can do is allow the divine to take the place of the other role, which is like really, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's like easy because I don't think it is. We have to learn how to figure it out. So the book that I'm thinking of is a controversial book. It's called Fascinating Womanhood, although it has been rewritten recently. The original author is Helen Andelin. The new author is her daughter, Dixie Forsyth, and she took out a lot of the super triggery stuff in there. That was kind of like a relic of the 1960s. If you can imagine a 1960s book on feminine energy, could be a little triggery. That's definitely like the era of like the pearls and the vacuuming, all of this. But one thing that she said about in that book was to still try and model the energy that you're in, or like you're, like as a woman, if your spouse is dead, if you're divorced, if your spouse is in the military and they're gone a lot, to still work to present that feminine front, And, you know, here's the thing, being feminine is not about wearing dresses and nail polish. Like that's a big thing that culturally, like, again, you see people that are like, I feel like a woman because I want to wear a dress and nail polish or something. It's like, that has nothing to do with actual feminine energy, but okay. But even so, presenting in a more feminine way can be a way that we're stepping into that more feminine energy. And she, in that book, she talks a lot about doing the masculine things, but in a feminine way. Okay. And so what that would mean would be, I mean, I don't know, how can you do masculine things in a feminine way? So I'm thinking of like fixing stuff. You know, my dad was a big fixer. I'm not really married to like a big fixer. But he does fix things. But sometimes I have to fix things, and, but I can do it in a feminine way. Like my tools are purple instead of, you know, like all my tools have purple handles, and I'm okay to ask for help. And, I don't know. I mean, like this is something that we will have to talk about a lot in the class that I am preparing, but fulfilling, when you have to do both roles, doing the masculine role in a more feminine way, and also being really clear about it, and like being verbal about it, and being like, you know, just so you know, like when my child, like when you are married, like this is something that I hope that your spouse does for you. But for our situation, I have to do it. And so this is how I'm going to do it because I don't have my counterpart to do it. And, you know, being open about it, and being aware of the energy and play and everything. That is one thing that I would say to be thinking about. Okay. And again, we can allow the divine to step in for us and ask for help with this in every moment. So, you know, I'm, you know, happily married, everything, but just in general, I try to do this a lot with my kids, parenting my kids. A lot of times when they'll come and ask me about things, because I'm like pretty strict. I'm a Virgo. I don't know. I am just like kind of a strict person. And so my kids will ask me if they can do this or do that. And like my default setting is like, no, you can't. But I've been learning to tune in and just ask God, like, how am I going to handle this the way that you want me to handle this? And that's true for everybody, can do this all the time. And it doesn't matter, like it completely separate from this session, but in the context of this session, you can do that too. And you can say, okay, I want to, you know, be fully in my yin energy, and I want to handle this situation that if I had a great husband in my life, then I would have him do it. So God, just tell me how to do it. And you ask for instructions and you do those instructions, and that's going to be the real answer for everybody. The divine can tell you how to handle everything exactly the right way, and it's going to look different person to person, and that's perfect and right. So I would say tune in with the divine and just ask, and make it a habit of every day. And I ask all the time, and I don't do it enough. Even if I do it 10 times a day, I know I don't do it enough. And when I do it, my life is a lot easier. When I don't do it, I really pay the price with it. Okay. Okay, let's see. Going up. Can I list any resources for helping us step into our divine polarity? Do we have to wait for our class? So for me personally, all the resources that I have, I like can't like 100% recommend any of them. You know, I mean, obviously including Fascinating Womanhood, because it's like triggery, obviously, which I always tell everybody, like, it's going to trigger you. You're going to throw the book across the room and throw up. It's okay. And so the ones that I have for men, in particular, I also feel like I can't recommend 100%. And since I only have 5 minutes until I have to pick up my kids from preschool, yeah, I would say to wait for the class for now, but we'll talk about it more. I'm actually hearing Jordan Peterson. I love Jordan Peterson. So his book 12 Rules for Life doesn't explicitly talk about this stuff, at least that I can remember, but it is coming to my mind to recommend. Excellent book. Won't talk about this specifically, but you will see it is full of wisdom that will help in this process as well. Here's the thing. Stepping into our divine polarity is just stepping into reality. Okay, that's all that it is. It's just us embracing what is, what exists, and anything that we can do to more fully understand and embrace what is really going on in reality, that is going to help us heal everything. So that is what I would say about that. Okay, I'm kind of skipping around because I only have 5 minutes, and I'm going to focus on ones that are the most relevant. Okay. I've never thought of this. Do most women carry loads of both? I don't feel like I have any feminine energy. Okay, so this is my understanding of this. I feel like the default setting of humans is that we have our yin energy or our yang energy as like the root energy of us. But we carry a lot of trauma, and that can bury it down. And so I found a journal of mine just like yesterday, and I was reading in it, and I found this thing where so here's the thing. Sexuality is like a huge hot topic right now, but you can't hide the sexuality of your energy field. You cannot really do it. You kind of can a little bit, but you kind of also really can't, because masculine chakras emanate outwards and feminine chakras are vortexes inward, and you can't hide that. And it doesn't matter what kind of clothes you're wearing or who you're dating, your chakras identify with basically the identity of your physical body. And yes, I have transgender clients, and I have people who have XO instead of XX chromosomes. And like, I get it. I've had clients with XXY chromosomes. I fully understand this. But what I'm saying is, even with those people, their energy fields are resonating with, what is going on with their body. Okay. But there's trauma. Okay. So what I found in myself that I wrote in this journal was that I had created basically like masculine style emanating energy to kind of overlay my feminine chakras as a protection mechanism. Okay. And so I had my little journal, and I like wrote out my process as I was clearing it myself. When I work on myself, often I'll write down my sessions as I do them, so I have a record and I can go back and see what I did. When people don't feel like they're carrying feminine energy, but they are like female beings, to me, that doesn't mean they don't have feminine energy. It means there's massive trauma that needs to clear so that they can allow themselves to experience their feminine energy, and vice versa, because a lot of men carry their masculine energy and they've hidden it with feminine energy, because both things have pros and cons. And so you can see how, so let's take a war situation. Let's take maybe a war in heaven type of situation, okay? Where all humans are involved in it. And on the one hand, you might have female spirits that are saying, okay, this is terrifying and I'm not strong enough to protect myself. And so I'm going to take on some masculine characteristics so that I'm tougher and stronger and I can start protecting myself. And then on the other hand, you might have a male spirit that says, man, this all is very terrifying, and maybe the girls don't have to fight the same way. And if only I was more feminine, then other people would protect me more, or maybe things would be easier for me if I had a little bit more feminine characteristics. And so then you see on either side, each person can start kind of fabricating an energetic counterfeit to their true nature in order to protect themselves. And this is what we do for everything, not just for polarity presentation like we're talking about here, but you know it from your own life. You know it. You know that when we've been in situations of abuse, we counteract with energetic structures to protect ourselves from that. We put up heart walls. Sometimes we gain physical fat in order to be a buffer and shield between ourselves and the abuser. Okay. This is a natural event where when things are scary to us, we create an energetic structure to protect ourselves. And all I'm saying is that it's not just true in situations of abuse and embarrassment, going to school and having people make fun of you. Any kind of trauma can cause that, but including gender-related trauma. And when that happens, it's going to shift our energy field, but not permanently, right? And not in the original structure. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't change the original structure of our system, but it is going to be a really powerful overlay that we're going to have to deal with and work through. Okay. I gotta go pick up my kid from preschool. So okay, so here's a question at the bottom. It's priority to align with our true identity, polarity, focus on cleaning out masked traumas. Exactly. That is my goal for people, is to align with the true identity of their polarity and clean out the masked traumas. That for me would be the thing. Okay. And so, yes, I have so many thoughts about all of these things, but I like basically have to go. Will we continue this conversation in the Facebook group? Yeah, we can. I have like, well, I was doing a Facebook Live earlier while I was folding laundry, but I still have so much laundry to fold, guys. Well, maybe I can do it while I do a Facebook Live. But these are all things that we're going to talk about a lot in the class that I'm going to teach. And so when I do that class, I'll put a link at the bottom of this video so that people can find it. But let it be known, there's a lot to be said and a lot to work with here. And one book that I will recommend is The Mindful Attraction Plan. The Mindful Attraction Plan by Athol Kay, Atholkay, Athol Kay, on Amazon. The Mindful Attraction Plan by Athol Kay, and he just does a great job of explaining how to get yourself into better alignment in general. It's not so much about this polarity. It is like very slightly about that, but like overall, it's just like get yourself in line with reality. The Mindful Attraction Plan by Athol Kay. Okay, thank you guys for being here. I'll put this up on YouTube. We'll put on some links, and we're going to talk about this a lot more in the next couple of months. We're going to do this class. We're going to have a great time. Okay, thanks guys. Have a great day.